Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you missed my video last week, there I was covering the steps that I took and highlighting the pros and cons of giving birth either at home, in hospital, or in a birth center. And today I'm going to be deep diving into the process that I actually took to pick the exact hospital where I gave birth and what the registration process, especially for here in Cologne, looks like before you go into labor. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tafara, and over the last few weeks I've been doing a somewhat micro series covering topics from pregnancy through to newborn. If you didn't have the opportunity to watch the video last week, I've shared the link in the description below so you can watch it at the end of this video, and I'll also put it up at the end of the screen. Let's just get right into it. So the next question is, how did I go into picking a hospital? Because like I said in the beginning, this is a topic I'd never been confronted with, and now it's like, okay, pick the hospital you're going to give birth at. There's so many to pick from. But of course, deciding whether I wanted hospital, birth house, or home birth was critical for me to then further narrow it down. So at this point, it was now clear that I wanted a hospital. And at that point, I was also reading a magazine. So there's this magazine called Kangaroo from the Cologne Bonn region. It's for parents with children. It covers various topics from newborn to toddler. And that particular issue, it had all the hospitals where one can give birth in the Cologne and Bonn region. So I read everything on that issue. It had 15 hospitals. I don't know what the case is at the moment. I read on the 15 hospitals and I was like, okay, it's not necessary for me to even consider Bonn. Narrowed it down to Cologne. And then from what I read in the Cologne hospitals, it listed all the facilities that they have and don't have. I took the consideration, the vicinity from our house. And then I narrowed it down to 4 hospitals that were an option for me. And then I went on Google and I read every single review from these 4 hospitals. But it wasn't just the reviews. I also went to the respective websites of the hospitals and I had an absolute favorite. I had a hospital where I was like, this is where I want to give birth to my child. It was like screaming my name, everything about it. When I read through the Kangaroo magazine, I already knew which hospital I wanted. I read the Google reviews and it's like, my mind hadn't changed. I checked out the websites and I still wanted to go to this hospital. And I was like, okay, I need to get advice like from women that have actually given birth. So yes, I'm one of those people that does Facebook groups. I know there's people that are like, why do you go on Facebook groups? Anyways, I do it. So I found there's a Facebook group for pregnant women in Cologne. And then I wrote a post. I said, hi guys, I'm however many weeks pregnant. I'm looking, for a hospital to give birth in. This is currently my favorite. Did anybody give birth at this hospital? What are your reviews? And what are the pros and cons? What have you heard about this hospital? And all the moms that had given birth in that hospital, they were giving their feedback. And then there was also feedback from moms that wanted to give birth in that hospital but couldn't, and then they gave all their reasons. Of course, there were other moms that gave their reasons on why they picked different hospitals, and this was really, really good. After all that, I was still set on the hospital that I wanted to go to, and I thought, okay, let me ask my midwife about it, because I got various feedback, and then I asked her, and she was like, it's the best hospital in Cologne. One of the negative things that people were saying was that so many women have registered there that in the end, they didn't end up being able to give birth there. So people were so upset about that they stopped registering there. But anyways, in a nutshell, that's how I picked my hospital and that was set. I was happy with my choice, but it doesn't just end there. So what you then have to do is you need to register at a hospital. So when you go in labor, you're already in the system. So at the hospital where I gave birth, you're able to register as of week 30 of your pregnancy. And then you book an appointment. You can book this appointment online. And then when you have the appointment, you're supposed to go with your Mutterpass, maternity book. maternity record, whatever it's called. You go with your medical insurance card, you go with your ID, and then you fill out a document. They capture all the information about your medical history, how your pregnancy has been going, and so forth. You can have a tour if you want. And also, when you fall pregnant, you should check the hospitals out in case you're like, oh, I genuinely don't know, I need to see the hospitals. Various hospitals have different dates where you can actually go and tour the labor wards. So you actually see them, and you get a better understanding of what they offer, what they don't offer. I mean, from the time you're pregnant, for example, at this hospital, I said one could register from week 30. You basically have 20 weeks where you have time to be visiting various hospitals before you make up your mind. So when you then actually go in labor, you don't have to fill out any paperwork or anything. Okay, so registering is just something that's strongly advised because now you're in the system. So what happens is when you go in labor, if the hospital where you wanted to give labor is fully booked, the Cologne system is tied together. They'll look to see which hospitals have capacity, and they'll align with you and, you know, send you to a different hospital. Now, if you're not in the system at all, it's like you're not a priority. You then can't say, oh, I want to give birth in this hospital. You're just not in the system. They can just take you wherever. And then in that moment, you have no say. I absolutely didn't want that. But one thing I found amazing also about being already registered in the system, when I went into labor and I finally went to hospital, I walked there and I said, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm in labor. She's like, oh, okay, show me your ID. I showed her my ID and she's just like, you can go to the maternity ward. I was like, really? It was so unspectacular, which is a good thing though, because I was already in the system. I didn't need to fill out a single form. I didn't need to sign anything. I didn't need to do anything. And then I went to the maternity ward and I was like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm in labor. They're like, oh, come in. Just like that. That's my story of how I picked, what kind of facility and where to give birth. Choosing where to give birth was a very thoughtful process for me. And I'm really happy that I took the time to do my research, to ask questions, and validate or verify everything with my midwife. And at the end of the day, it's about feeling confident, safe, and supported with your decision. For those of you that may be in a similar situation, like I said, if I was at home, I would have just asked my mom, oh, where shall I give birth? Case closed. But if you're living abroad and you don't know how to navigate the whole thing, I hope that you found this video insightful and you can take 1 or 2 tips. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe and share. Thank you and see you next time.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.